2 years ago, I did an online lecture on how YouTube became a beacon of free speech in Russia. 2 years later, and there is no YouTube in Russia. Is it a good thing? How it feels to live without YouTube? Was it possible not to block YouTube in Russia? Let's talk about it in this video. Welcome to my channel. My name is Tanya and I talk about Russia without filters. In my previous lecture, I talked about YouTube being one of the only places of free speech in Russia, and actually how it all started. Some of you might know that one of the first things the President Putin made was shutting down the main independent channel called NTV in Russia, and then that was pretty much the beginning of the end for independent media in Russia.
Of punishment, quote unquote, for publications on the corruptions in the highest echelons of Russian political power, and is as an attempt of intimidation of journalists taken place on the second working day of a newly elected President Putin. And I do believe it sends a very wrong and disturbing signal about situation with the freedom of the press in Russia and the political regime, the shape it's taking place under a new president.
Now, these days, we pretty much no longer have independent journalists, independent media, with a few exceptions. Telegram and YouTube were still the main sources for Russians who are still in Russia to learn about what is happening in the world, to hear some alternative opinions. And it was interesting that people still kept texting me that I'm one of those brainwashed Russians, no matter what I was saying about the war, no matter I was talking against the war and openly stating my position. But they were like, you're a brainwashed Russian because you don't know what's happening in the world. And I was like, you're actually texting me on YouTube or on Facebook, and you still have access to it. Why don't I have access to the information? So I think that YouTube is definitely brilliant. Let me know how it helped you, what you generally watch. It helped me to learn a few languages, and by the way, I'm able to speak 4 of them. So once people are able to have access to the information, I might have access to more information thanks to that. Right after the beginning of the war, Facebook was shut down, and even Instagram, which was a big bummer for all of the Instagram divas who couldn't imagine their lives without it, literally, because it was everything.
Если вы до сих пор думаете, что для меня, как для блогера, Инстаграм — это источник заработка, вы глубоко ошибаетесь. Блять, это просто, это вся жизнь, это душа, это то, с чем я просыпаюсь и засыпаю грёбаные 5 лет подряд.
So it was pretty obvious that sooner or later YouTube and probably Telegram could be closed. So from the beginning, like some pro Putin's bloggers were asking people to subscribe on other platforms like Russian alternatives to YouTube, such as RuTube, ВКонтакте. It wasn't really successful. People were still preferring YouTube for a number of reasons, but you can imagine how much money people would get paid just to choose another platform, how much money the government invested into it. So it didn't help. Meanwhile, the independent bloggers who stand against the war were saying don't worry, there is Iran, they don't have YouTube and they can use VPN, so it all works. Maybe it's just a little bit slower, but guys, don't worry, we are ready. So people were actually prepared for it. There were talks about it for over 2 years, and then now it's not actually officially blocked in Russia. It just works slowly, actually super slowly, so you're not able to watch any video. So let me know if you think it's a good idea or not to block YouTube in any country. And of course, Russia is not the first one. Like there's China, there's again Iran, but technically, as I understand, it's easier to block Google in general instead of like all of the Google servers instead of just YouTube. So it means that you need to invest more money. And as a taxpayer, would you want in Russia or in any country in the world your money to go on blocking the information for you, the internet for you in general, which is also possible. We also talk about it, not having the internet in Russia. Let's go back to the USSR. People are pretty nostalgic these days. So how would you feel about it? That, your money is used not on creating medicine to cure cancer or not on education, but of course the war, and just restricting your access, your right to the information, to choosing what you want. And honestly, I'd prefer to have the access to the information. But there's another problem, that once you have this access, it's also the platform, and YouTube till recently was the platform for many bloggers who openly support the war in Ukraine. And some of them, justify the actions of the Russian government, and actually not only Russian government, which means that whoever has, extremist ideas or any other ideas can openly talk about it and have millions of followers. And what is ridiculous that, in my opinion, that YouTube's answer to the war in Ukraine was restricting all of the Russian bloggers, meaning that no matter what you stand at, whether you support the war or not, you won't have monetization. Meanwhile, there were some bloggers holding other passports, like, I'm not going to mention these bloggers, but you know what I mean. Like, there are some Americans, English, Australians, and whoever moving to Russia, saying how great it is and doing videos on how great it is. But just because they hold other passports, they're free to have monetization, versus Russians who are risking their lives and everything. They immigrated to other countries and keep doing it. And by the way, all of these Russians are probably, all of them are now considered as foreign agents, which means that you're no longer able to have ad. So what you can do is just to create these free videos in Russia, and that's pretty much it. Would you do that? What is ironic is all of these pro-Putin's bloggers were saying how bad all of these Western countries, that they're evil, we are fighting with the evil. We are not actually fighting with the Ukrainians. That was one of the narratives. We are fighting with this common West. And then you keep using this platform. Like, you have Russian alternatives. Why don't you just have it? I don't know, in my opinion, it's a little bit weird to use the platform of the country that you openly stand against. So a few months ago, YouTube finally blocked many pro-Russian accounts. Among them were like singers, the voice of the war in Ukraine and Russia, Shaman, Polina Gagarina. There were some other bloggers. There was also an American girl who had a similar account, but unlike me, she was saying how great everything is, how different it is from the media and everything. Many people were actually happy about it, because we're like, oh, finally, there are no these Russians. But those of you who join my Beyond Borders talks that I do for subscribers, or you can join them or through Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon, know that for me it sounded like there would be a Russian response. And just a few weeks later, it was decided to block YouTube. So the government was prepared for it, which means that now, if you don't have VPN, and VPN is also blocked in Russia, so you need to pay for it, and even if you pay for it, it might be closed sooner or later. The big question is, was it the right move from YouTube to block Russian Russian bloggers while they knew that that would lead to the closure of YouTube in Russia? And as far as I know, YouTube was prepared for it, and I think it's a pretty tough question. And what would you choose? And I know that for some countries, the freedom of speech is essential, no matter what you stand for. Although it's still tough when people constantly say lies that affect millions of people. Lies that are about life and death, some really crucial things. It's not about lying what kind of Hermes bag I bought, whether it's fake or not, but it's about saving lives or not. But being in the position saying that these Russians don't deserve YouTube, you need to close YouTube, you consider people not having the access to the information only because they were born in a certain country. And I think it would be great to live in the world where people actually have access to the information, and they are able to choose whether they want to spend their days on a couch watching Kardashians, or they want to watch TED lectures. And again, for me, YouTube is a great platform because you have a choice what you want to do and how you want to spend your life. While there are countries like Russia and China where the government wants to dictate what you want to do, what you watch. They want to control not only your thoughts, but at the end, it's also your life. Because once you have a son who is 18 years old, it's him who has to go to the war and not the son of their officials and not their children. So I know that some people might say it's great because the government actually cares about you and protects you from this extremist information. But do you think, and this is my question, the governments are smarter than you are? They're smarter than, educated people and everything. So at the end of the day, I wish we would live in the world of tolerance, peace, and kindness, where people were able to decide what they wanted to do with their lives. In my ideal world, I would be bloggers who would promote peace, kindness, and tolerance instead of hate, no matter what they actually support. So I think it's tough, especially when you live in a dictatorship. But at the end of the day, as subscribers, as viewers, we still have the right to choose what they want. And till I have access, till I'm able to do it, I will keep learning. I will have an access to the information, to literature, I'll keep educating myself, and as long as I'm able to do these videos, I'm going to publish it. So sorry for silence. it's a little bit tough these days, as you can imagine, to keep recording videos. But if you want to watch more, if you want to read more about my life in Russia, you can become one of the sponsors of this channel. You can support me on Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon, and get access to my virtual lectures and essays. So thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to press the button like and subscribe if you want to learn more.